I will be going over the Metroidvanias that I played over the past, like, 1-2 weeks that I bought during the Steam Summer Sale. One that is not good, in my opinion, 2 that are decent, and 1 that was good. And I will go by that order. So, let's start off with the first one, which is Afterimage. So, Afterimage is... Gotta turn the music off for that now. Afterimage is, if you wanna know... Oh my lord. Gonna have to do this manually, I guess. So, Afterimage is a hand-drawn 2D action adventure that emphasizes fast-paced combat with diversified character builds, non-linear levels, and a gripping story set in the ruins of a fantasy world. So, nice marketing text, but yeah, literally my review is pretty negative. So, the TLDR of this is... Actually, I'm not going to give you the TLDR and guess, I'm just going to read my review. So, it is... brutally, didn't finish the game because it's way too large, unironically. Way too much bloat, minor upgrades like 2% move speed, which is worthless to put into your game, in my opinion, and then lore as well as the world doesn't feel properly connected. Also, why are there so many materials and cooking-related drops that are not only difficult to pick up because of the small hitbox, but also feel like even more bloat? Compress it down, focus on a few ingredients. So I'm gonna just keep on that and not read everything, so I give more context. So this is literally my review on Steam. So way too much bloat, like minor upgrades. So I actually gonna like open the game for you guys. And so you can actually see what I'm talking about. The thing is... There we go. So just change that real quick so I can actually switch. So the minor upgrades is a reference to the skill tree. Good lord. So the skill tree of Afterimage is actually, in my opinion, an absolute mess. It's pretty darn bad. The game itself is very pretty, in my opinion. It's a very pretty game, also 21:9 aspect ratio, so it's a very widescreen appearance. By the way, spoiler, of course, a little bit here. Actually, I'm not gonna, like, zoom out too much, otherwise it's a little bit of a spoiler. So, yeah, you have a talent tree, and I'm like, oh, interesting, RPG talent tree, I like that, right? I like gaining power over a long period of time in most games, or any game pretty much, and it's also a Metroidvania, so it's kind of nice. So you have, like, the major abilities, but then you can also, like, say, I want to have more damage, more defense, maybe more bleed damage, whatever the game offers you. Problem is, you literally have stuff which is, like, 1% critical strike, 3% critical damage. You have contact damage received minus 2%. You have max HP plus 5. Thankfully, the HP numbers don't get insane. So it doesn't, like, it's not like a JRPG that has, like, it starts with 100 damage and at some point you just see millions or trillions of numbers, right? And it's just like, boom, 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 like, just make numbers for the sake of, like, big numbers for the sake of big numbers. Thankfully, that's not the case. But again, it's like dash distance 2%. It's like, why? Like, why? You know, experience gain 2%. Rare drop rate plus 1%. Do gain is the resource to buy stuff. You know, it's kind of, you can kind of imagine as like souls in a Souls-like game. Defense plus 2, you know, which could be actually good. But it also, I think, doesn't really tell you. I have defense 99.3. I don't know if that's like 99% or what's the damage reduction, right? No info on that. No idea. Main weapon attack plus 1. It's like, and I think somewhere is movement speed. I think it was actually here, right? There it is. Movement speed plus 2. It's like, why? Just why? Like, yeah. This like really bothered me while playing because everything feels so minor and you just click a billion times. And I think I only was able to reset once with an item. And there are many... The thing that the game does well, though, is some weapons really feel like a massive upgrade. So that's a great part, right? If you find a cool weapon and it might actually double your damage. So that's cool. So exploration is rewarded with great, strong weapons. There are a variety of weapons, as you can see. There are whips. There are like Muromasas, so it's like more of a weapon with a sheath. So it's like slower attacks, but it's like more chunky hits. There are daggers. There are like great swords or broadswords. There are scythes. There are normal swords. It's like there is some really nice variety. But then you also have the items, which is like, holy heck, cooking is an absolute pain to do a little bit. Because again, there's so many cooking recipes, there's so many ingredients, and it just kind of feels tedious. I'm glad they added some sort of like first consumption, like first time consumption, like literally increases. For example, I get a talent point here. I get recover HP on kill, talent points 2, talent points 1. So it actually like, you want to do it. But my god, there's so many ingredients of all the different enemies. It's very JRPG-esque, you know. That's I guess just the game. And there are many abilities. I think I actually have a triple jump now. Some I think abilities are even like hidden throughout the world. So it's kind of interesting. So you might not even get everything, which is fine. I kind of like that. You know, exploration is rewarded. But yeah, overall, I haven't finished this game. Because the major problem that I also had with this game, to get out of here now, is... How do I get out of this game, by the way? You know what? Hit the microphone. I'm sorry. So, to keep my review going, on top of that, an awful map and quest system. You cannot mark things on the map manually, which I don't prefer anyhow. But it also doesn't mark important spots for you when you visited it. Nor are, for the most part, any major quests that drive the plot forward mentioned on the map. 11.7 hours in, level 70 plus, bunch of hacking items, and I'm truly lost. That's, by the way, my own review that I'm reading here. Yeah, I'm truly lost of where to go now in this game. I have no idea, because the game doesn't have a proper hacking quest system. And it doesn't have to be complex. But it made me appreciate Hollow Knight a lot more once again. Because it had, at some point, you find the Dreamers, or you need to find the Dreamers, right? And there's literally 3 spots on the map that says, there they are. Find them. However you get there, right? But you have like a light at the end of the tunnel that you can follow. And those are the spots on the map. This game has none of that. There is nothing that kind of leads you into any direction. There is a quest log that summarizes, like the last time you mentioned, I don't know, let's say there is like, I don't know, Mark, right? You met Mark in this game, and you met him throughout the world like 6 times. And each time there's a little line in the quest log of like a summary of what happened. Oh, I met Mark in this and that area. He went to the south because he was interested in item X and Y, or into what happened to his brother that apparently has something to do with blah blah blah, right? And you're like, okay, I'm kind of getting like some sort of story and lore and vibe, but it's like, if it's south is good, but the problem is if I have explored 90% of the map and I don't know where else to go now, like I have nothing to hold on to. So yeah, anyways, to keep moving, because I have like 3 more games to talk about, that just shows a lack of proper quest system. Best example, okay, the Hollow Knight Dreamer thing I already mentioned. Also, movement boils down to dashing a million times in quick succession to move through the massive world, which I think is just large to show how cool stuff can look. I see the large amount of work that artists put into everything, but gameplay is key, and that is missing here. I cannot recommend this for the price tag and the lack of features explained above. So, if you want to know, this is the game. If you want to check it out yourself, or maybe whatever you want to do, yeah, I cannot recommend this game. I played it now for 11 hours. Not every hour feels like quality. Sometimes it feels very much like bloat. Enemies sometimes take quite a long time. They become very tanky. Numbers ramp up fast, especially if you don't have a proper weapon and everything and upgrade it. The game isn't very difficult, I have to say. Like, I didn't really die a lot. The game is just large. The game is just large for the sake of being large, and some areas just also make no sense. It's so fantasy-esque. I mean, every game is kind of a fantasy, right? It's not real, but this is very much fantasy JRPG kind of stuff, which has like large areas and crazy bosses and wacky designs for the sake of it, not for the sake of a consistent world, right? You don't need to make everything happen. Just have a consistent world and make that good. And I think, again, Hollow Knight does this very heckin' well. Every monster, every boss, everything just has some sort of like lore and reason and thing behind it that makes sense and you can feel it. The moment in Afterimage, I sometimes see weird-ass turrets that shoot massive lasers across the screen while golem-esque thing is like, okay, we're reaching the limit. And then, because there's so many different worlds and so many different things that also feel so... They just sometimes, like I said, feel like they're just added to the game for the sake of just, okay, let's make the game bigger. What can we make? Massive wind-related dungeon or something, you know, biome, let's go. And then it just, like, add all the Chinese-esque, Asian-esque visuals and art, like, style to it. And I'm like, okay, but why, though? Like, I mean, I know you want to make the game bigger, but why, though, right? Does this really add anything to this world? And it's like, yeah. Also, you're a god, or some sort of, like, demigod or something in this world. So, yeah, the story I skipped anyways, because... Nah, bro. I just gave up, like, really early on. I was like, nah, I'm not gonna play this. So, yeah. I am gonna play this, I'm just not gonna play it for the story. So, yeah, Afterimage, cannot recommend. I'm sorry. It's like... Boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. But that was Afterimage. Now, let's keep moving quickly. Let's jump into Lone Fungus, which I also played and finished. And I think, because the game starts like this, it thanks the Kickstarters and Patreon, so I think this is a small developer or small team. Overall, I hope this is not a spoiler. Is this a spoiler? This is probably kind of a spoiler. This is kind of a spoiler. Okay, hold up. Actually, hold up, I lied. So, Lone Fungus, on the other side, is fine, and I recommend that you play it, but again, it is a very, very... Okay, wait, I also don't want to show the map because it spoilers a lot. So I'm not gonna, like, probably do much in this game. Overall, it is fine. It is a fine game that I do not recommend for the full price, again, because you get like 3-4 hours out of this game, depending on how good you are, of course, but I played it in 3-4 hours, or maybe 5. I'll check that in a bit. The map is pretty big. It's somewhat easily traversable, but I wish it would be easier. The thing is, though, it feels like there's a lot of hidden tech. There is, again, so much hidden tech that I don't care about it. I saw speedruns where you can do some sort of like hyper dash kind of thing, where you dash through an entire room near instantly or something. I don't know. It's ridiculously fast. But again, if it's not a normal ability in the game, I 99% don't care about it. Animal whale. Because I want the power, right? Give me the power to do this, or upgrade my power in that way as I play through this Metroidvania. I don't want most of this stuff to be hidden tech. There's apparently a lot of hidden tech, so traversal through the world is a little bit tedious, and also one negative thing that I feel like about this game is the world kind of doesn't make sense. There's like wacky stuff where suddenly you are in some machine-like biome, and I'm like, okay, that's a... wow, okay. That feels like kind of whack. It feels like it's there for the sake of making the game bigger and adding more interesting spells. Which, by the way, the entire game revolves around spells, which I'm also not a fan of. I mentioned this before because I think... oh god, what is it again? See, I'm already like... no, that's not that. That's not it. That's not it. What is it again? What is it again? No, that's not it. Oh yeah, oh my god, it's like pressing this here. Like with this finger, you have to press this to switch between the different spells. Oh my god. Yeah, this is horrible. I hate that. I hate swapping between spells. That's definitely not for me. Same with Animal Well. I like having the ability as an ability, right? As a passive. It's fine, but definitely the game focuses on the whole spells. So, for example, if you're someone, and I played most of this game literally just swinging my little sword, you know, I literally just did this for 90% of the fights, by the way. Because, yeah, I'm not into spells. I don't like swapping between them. It's interesting, though, if you enjoy that. So, if you enjoy spells and interacting with the spells, because, for example, I think you can do, what is it, like this, exactly, but you can also do this, for example. So if you have a spell and you interact with it, either by slashing it, you can do a charge slash later on, which, by the way, takes so long to charge up. By the way, it's absolutely insane. There's another ability where I think it's like this, yeah. You can interact with your spells. Super interesting idea. I just personally hate swapping between spells. It's god-awful. I hate that. Because I think you can turn things off. So, for example, if you only want to focus on those two, let's say you only want to focus on those two, I think you can only swap between those two and technically this one, which is, I think, the... what is it again? Yeah, this one. So, for example, you can, like, jump on that. That's, like, one of the very first abilities. I think this is literally the first ability. So, you can say, okay, I don't want to, like, go through every single ability until I get to the one I actually care about. Fair. But my god, there's a lot of damage when you use spells good. Like, I saw the speedruns, it's absolutely disgusting, and I wish that the damage could be somehow put into the slashes, you know, because I'm that guy. I like slashes, and I like basic abilities. I don't want to overcomplicate things, and I'm also not, like... It also feels a little bit weird using the abilities, in my opinion. Just kind of like something just doesn't feel right when I move my character and want to do certain combos. And also, you can't spam them, of course, otherwise it would be way too busted. So you have mana. But the problem is, if you use an ability too many times, you don't have mana anymore, and now, screw you, buddy, you know, and... I don't know. It feels a little bit whack. At the end of the day, I was like, alright, never mind, spells probably don't exist. I'm just gonna mostly use my slashes and just get good at the boss fights. But there are many abilities, which is nice. There are relics similar to, like, in Hollow Knight, where you have passives and you can just change it up a little bit. One thing I don't like, this UI should technically have something on the left or right, like a little arrow, because I didn't know for like an hour or something, there's a second page. And for some reason, some of these relics that pop up on the second page, you can get at the beginning of the game. So it's a little bit weird. I feel like that's like a tiny little UI change. Just add a little arrow to the right here and a little arrow to the left, so you realize there are two pages. I know it says page 1 out of 2 on the left side, but it's also on the top left, where I usually don't look. Anyways. Small little things like this where you realize, oh, okay, there's a small team, there's a small game by probably 1 or 2 developers, or like, it's not like massive, right? Either way, I can recommend it if you have time for that, it is, let me see, it's 7 hours. Sorry, it's 7.7 hours. The rough review I gave it was... Oh, there we go. Sorry. Wait, what the heck just happened? Hold up. There we go. So, the review I gave was Lone Fungus was fine. Neat world, lots of bosses, lots of abilities and upgrades. Issue is, it doesn't feel fun to go through the world with the basic Metroidvania's abilities to me, nor does the combat because it hyper-focuses itself on spells and interactions with it. For a non-real example, you can use the spell, but you can use the spell and slash, or you can do a charge slash and it does something different, and much more. If that sounds fun to you, go ahead. I did the game focused on slashing. That's it. Can't mess up a sword slash, but you sure can mess up the timing of your spells and waste mana. So yeah, and then probably get hit because you messed up. Because you have to move sometimes with your spells while the boss does its thing. So yeah, can't mess up a sword slash. And boy, did I not find a sword upgrade for a while. So yeah, that's Lone Fungus for you. Overall, fine. Can recommend if you got that money. Again, it's about 7 hours of fun. 7.5 hours, and I did a lot. Like most of these games I have like at 90%, 95%, because, you know, I am a Metroidvania kind of guy, so I explore a lot. The game is $20. Just keep that in mind. You know. At least I do. Next game, which is shorter, it's 4.3 hours, is Record of Lodoss War, Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth. If that title seems fucking insane to you, it sure goddamn is. A 2D Metroidvania style game developed under the supervision of Ryu Misuro, depicting the story of Deedlit and the events leading up to the Record of Lodoss War, Diadem of the Covenant. Use a variety of weapons and spirit powers to unravel the mystery of the Labyrinth. TLDR, it's like Castlevania. And it has anime plot. I sure as hell skipped that anime plot real fast. But it's also a really dense world. And it's 4.3 hours long for a price tag of 16.79 euros. Quite a bit for 4 hours of fun. So what I gave it was bought the game during summer sale for around 8 euros, got 4.3 hours out of it, and uncovered 97% of the map. Overall, fine and worth a play, but don't expect to be blown away by anything. The map, movement, combat, abilities, bosses, visuals, and all are good, but nothing will make you say, wow, at least I didn't. Still, assuming a smaller team, less budget, and working off of a novel, this is a neat Metroidvania. They took things from Castlevania and improved upon it, like attacking and moving at the same time, which always felt clunky to me. Like I just said, yeah, might have skipped over that. So in Castlevania, usually when you attack, you stop moving. In this game, it is very Castlevania-esque with the upgrades, with the level ups, and weapons and all that jazz. But you can move and attack at the same time. Obviously, when you attack, you move slower, but you can still move. You're not like locked into that animation and cannot move a pixel, which is awesome. That makes it feel way more fluid. Love that. Awesome. The map is quite small as a whole, with 6-ish areas, biomes, and also very dense, similar to Environmental Station Alpha, including secret rooms. Happy searching. As someone who isn't into stories in games as a whole, this one felt strange, like reading a book backwards. Might be strange because it's based on a novel and not everything can be turned into a good video game story. Some translations at the very start and during the game seemed a bit off, but nothing too egregious. I hope the devs learned from this experience and can make something bigger and better in the future. They clearly know their stuff. So, I can briefly show it off. Yeah, overall, it is a neat game that... What are you doing? Oh, okay. Well, that... Okay, hold up. The game opened in a weird way. Hold the flipping phone. What are you doing? What? It looks like this right now. It's windowed-ish, I guess. Why? There it is. There it is. Okay, so you have to like... it opens as a window, and you have to make the window bigger. Got it. Okay. And then put it on full screen. Gonna lower this a little bit, so it's not like blowing your ears out. That's probably fine for you on stream, because it's anyways usually lower. So, just quickly jumping in, you have 3 things. I am stage 6, which is the last one. It's level 47. I will try not to spoil it too much. I'll just quickly jump in. So you can move and attack, as you can see. So for example, you don't get locked into the animation. You have the typical double jump. You have a little float if I hold A, which by the way also changes depending on how close you are to the ground. Not right now, but usually changes. Like, you have a certain distance towards the ground, which is pretty kind of neat. I think I haven't seen that in any other game. It definitely focuses on 2 abilities. So, for example, again, you want to switch between, like, 2 spirits, like the blue and fire one. I think there's a salamander, and I don't know what that is, some spirit. And depending on what spirit you are, you will charge up at the top middle, as you can see. There's a 1 and 3. The more damage you do on that, it charges up that bar, and if you are 3, like I am right now with Salamander, I do way more damage with this one than with this one, depending on the upgrade, because you can permanently upgrade the spirit's power, which I think is not visible anywhere in this video game. I have no idea what the spirit power technically is, because I picked up 2 or 3 in this game, which is kind of like a permanent sword upgrade, but there isn't really a sword upgrade. There are, though, just purely better weapons in this video game, as you can see, and quite a lot of them, as well as bows. So there are a bunch of bows that you can get. 98% of the map is explored. I just showed the map, I'm very sorry. Forgot everything is like in one screen. I'm sorry for that. Overall, it is a pretty neat game. I don't think there's wall jump, actually, now that I realize it. But yeah, again, movement is like this. You go through this game in this speed. There's nothing faster. Technically, because it's a Castlevania, of course, you can do this one. So, have fun moving through this game like that. Personally, not a big fan of that. Yeah, I wish there would be some ability to move through the world a little bit faster, because it's a bit tedious. Like, I wished for any Castlevania game, there should always be, like, I'm pressing the button right now and it does nothing, which is RT or R2, you know, on the controller, like this one, the shoulder button. I wish there would be some sort of, hey, hold down and you speed up. You know? Like, I wish that would be a thing. Could be, for example, a permanent upgrade to this ability, right? Because it's like spirit, it's wind related. So how about you just give me wind in the back and just make me faster? Small things like this, you know, I would really appreciate it. Either way, it's, showed it again. Let me, like, switch scenes so I can actually not show the map 15 times. I'm very sorry. But yeah, overall, also a neat game, quite short, quite obvious when it comes to the world itself. The world makes a lot more sense in this game. It is not as crazy and wacky. I think there is... I don't even think there's like a ice area, water area. I don't know. It makes kind of sense, right? It's a labyrinth, and it's kind of like Castlevania, and it's in a castle-ish world, and there are a little bit like outside areas, so it kind of makes sense if you play it, and that's the good part, right? It definitely makes sense. So I can recommend the game for that, but again, it's not really cheap, right? It's not really cheap for $17 for a game that is 4 or 5 hours long. I skipped the story technically, right? So that might add maybe another hour, but I don't know. Who knows? Personally, wouldn't want to. The one thing that this game has that I completely forgot to mention, so I'm glad I just remembered it, is enemies have weaknesses and strengths. So, for example, the game forces you, or you should, switch between your two abilities fairly frequently, because some enemies take more damage from the Fire Spirit than from the Wind Spirit, what it's called. So you want to switch to deal the most amount of damage against those enemies. At some point, you're just super strong anyways, and again, weapons deal... Certain weapons are like massive upgrades to your character, so it's not as necessary, but again, it's literally a difference between one-shotting most trash mobs in the area to having to hit them 3 times. So that's the damage difference, right? If you actually deal... If you use their weakness, you know, and actual deal damage. There's also a bow in this game, because I just see right now the pictures right now. There is a bow that can be used for, like, puzzles. It's kind of interesting. I mean, I mentioned a bow, but it's also a Metroidvania-esque ability, because you can use it for upgrade. Or find upgrades, and especially like HP upgrades and things like this. So, yeah. But you're definitely not a god at the end, right? It's not one of these Metroidvanias where you're just like, time to become a god, at the end of the day. The game that does that is the next one, which is UNSIGHTED. So, UNSIGHTED is a really good game. I think this is one of those games that I would highly recommend trying out, because I think I played the demo a while ago. I don't think there's a demo currently available. Maybe it's on itch.io, check it out. I'm not quite sure, but it is... came out in 2021. It says, explore your way, awoken to a world ruined by war. Alma must traverse the vast city of Arcadia before the life force of her friends and herself withers away. Time is ticking and every moment matters. Who will you save, and who will you leave to turn unsighted? So Unsighted is kind of the way of saying you become corrupted in this world, because there is a massive meteor that gives the robots, which is 99% I think in this world is a robot. There's a dog, but yeah, you play a robot. Most of the NPCs are robots, and they run on some sort of resource, and that resource is fading. And yes, most NPCs that you meet have some sort of hours remaining bar, and there is a timer, or technically the world goes like in I think every 3 seconds is a minute in the world, or something along those lines. And so yeah, some of those people will fade. You can give them a type of resource, so they stay alive longer. So it literally gives them 24 hours of, like, it's like a resource you can give them. But what I didn't realize, because it's linked to some sort of heart system, I thought it's a relationship kind of thing, right? And I 1000% ignored it in all games, because I don't care about it, because it's usually like, oh, you can like romantic interest, it's story related, it's lore, it's a frick ton of dialogue, you know, and all that jazz. And I'm like, okay, I kind of want gameplay first, please. The thing is, use it. It's called, I think, Meteor Dust in the game. Definitely use that, because it actually gives you something gameplay-wise. I didn't realize this for a very long time in this video game. It took me 9 hours to play. I think 4 or 5 hours into this game, I started to actually use Meteor Dust on NPCs, and they give you pretty big rewards. Use it. Use it, believe me. But again, Meteor Dust is usually out of the way. So you need to explore, you need to do like side puzzles to find it in the world. So, to briefly go over it, or over my notes, as mentioned, I skipped the story after some time. I don't know if I said it, but yeah, I skipped the story after some time. Just wasn't too interested in it, I'm sorry. It's an interesting world, though, but the story itself was a little bit tedious. I'm like, okay, can we keep going, please? I don't know. Maybe I was just, like, not in the headspace to absorb the story. Who knows? Neat Metroidvania abilities. One greatly improves movement, which is awesome. Which is a lot of abilities are references to The Legend of Zelda, by the way, if you see them. Which is fine. I don't mind that at all. By the way, if games like indie games take stuff from other games and just implement it in their world and then twist it in some form, absolutely love that, actually. Because one, you instantly realize how it works, but then you have a little surprise where it's like, oh, I didn't expect it to work also like this. So they, iterated on that idea. So they don't like literally take the ability like one-to-one. So they add something to it. And in this world, it's pretty heckin' cool. That one movement ability, or at least it's technically an ability. I was happily surprised when I found it. I was like, oh, yes, that's how you do movement in the Metroidvania. So literally, I think 2 or 3 hours in, I got it. And that just made traversing the world way better. Way better. Like, you're way faster. Love it. Absolutely love that. Other Metroidvania abilities make puzzles more interesting, so there's that. Some abilities aren't direct abilities and could be figured out by just trying things out. So I think during the story or during the playthrough of the game, you will come across certain sections where the game teaches you like secret tech, but it at least teaches it to you, not like many other games where it's not explained at all, Lone Fungus. So that's cool. So you are like, it's more complex and there's timing involved, but when you get it, you feel pretty darn powerful and you can do some kind of crazy stuff in Unsighted, which I absolutely love. So, perfect. Love it. But it takes some time to get used to, of course. It's not like, hey, press A again to double jump, right? Which I usually prefer. But it's also cooler and it's not as complex. And it's also not like you have to do like a frame perfect press 6 times in a row or some crazy stuff. So it's cool. For future playthroughs, abilities can be created through the crafting system. So yes, there is a crafting system in the game, literally like an anvil. But if you have the resources and put them in a certain spots, you can create that ability, that Metroidvania ability, because it's like a literal physical thing in this world. I think all the time, right? It's not like you have magic wings or something, right? That's not the case. So it's a physical thing, cause robots, mechanical things, cogs. Speaking of cogs, the crafting system allows to create temporary buffs on the character that have to be manually activated. So there's a system in the game. I can pretty much show this anyways in a little bit. I can pretty much probably open the game right now. So you have the music. I can anyways have my notes like this. And I hope I don't show the world again, which would suck. You have cogs in the game, which adds temporary buffs, but you have to manually activate them. So not only do you have to like one by one create them and craft them, which is a little bit annoying in my opinion. Oh, I think I actually played this without the controller. I think I played this actually without the controller. I think I did like WASD or something. Pretty sure. Yeah, of course, because I had to aim. Yes. Because there is a thing where you can aim in this game. Or at least, anyways, an ability. Anyhow, I'm trying not to spoil it too much, of course. So, can you continue with this file? Please no spoiler. Okay, I'm gonna just stay here and not just spoil anyways, because I'm pretty sure if I go here and just show the map, yeah, it's over. So yeah. You have a stamina bar that can, I think, increase with, for example, you have equipped chips. Oh, sorry. Let's go back with the cogs. So the cogs, for example, are the temporary buffs. So, for example, you have to like manually click on them after you create them. You can, for example, go to those anvils and say, I want to use a blueprint, or maybe I know the combination and just be like, it's this or something, right? Who knows? But if I have a blueprint, I can say I want an attack cog. I can confirm this. craft it. I'm like, oh, cool, I now have this. You have to press OK every single goddamn time. Then you have to go into this menu and have to press the attack cog. And now it's active. I wish that would be, like, much faster, right? Like, let me create 6 attack cogs or this, and then it just does it. You could probably add some quality of life here, but fine, sure. What else do I want to mention? The combat overall is fine in the game. It's nothing like, oh my god, it's like absolutely insane and complex and deep. The cool thing is, though, if you are a god in this video game, or just a god gamer in general, which we all are, obviously, you can parry very obvious attacks and afterwards can deal a lot of critical damage in one hit. Have fun with that. So you can do some crazy wacky stuff if you can parry, or if you can parry well. Let's say that. Other thing is the ending is neat because the player can get a lot more damage if desired. So I really enjoy that in the game, if you don't feel strong enough, there is a way to get a lot more damage later on, like at the very end, like kind of like the last act of the game. So that's pretty neat, giving you that power fantasy kind of, which I prefer in my Metroidvanias. There is fast travel very early on. It's pretty much, I think it is free, yeah. The world overall is good, it looks neat, love the visuals, and most stuff makes sense and isn't out of left field, like Lone Fungus, which I mentioned earlier. So this world kind of makes sense the way it's made, with, by the way, also, I can't really show this, but there are 3 different layers to this world that are kind of like overlapped, similar to Axiom Verge, right, where you have like it's 2 dimensions. In this world, it's literally just 2 layers, right, because it's a hi doggy. Sure, we can take a nap. So that's kind of neat, and the world overall just makes sense the way it's made, right? So it's not like crazy all over the place, which is like in Lone Fungus, where it's like, here's a robot biome. It's like, what the heck is happening right now? I'm like playing a little mushroom guy, and suddenly there's like a robot area. I don't know, a bit weird, you know. And it's not like the end of the game. There's a robot area like as the second area. Yeah, okay, you want to feed. Here you go. Eat some food. So that's cool. Overall, to like summarize this a little bit, little spoiler by the way. Good. If you don't have a lot of money, I would highly recommend getting UNSIGHTED. It is $20, maybe get it on a sale. It's 9 hours, so I think that's like a nice, decent chunk of a game, right? It's not like 4 hours, it's 9 hours. That's a good length for a game, I think, especially for a Metroidvania, so there's a lot more depth. I think I explored, again, 90+%, 95, 97% of the world. A lot of secrets, a lot of things. If you have a bit more money, you can think about getting Lone Fungus and Wonder Labyrinth, or Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth. That's a super long, weird name. So you can get that preferably, but again, you get less hours there, and it's less fun, in my opinion, than UNSIGHTED. I feel like UNSIGHTED is like really damn good, but sadly it doesn't have a lot of reviews, which is a shame. And if you want to play absolute trash, you play Afterimage. Don't play Afterimage. it's pretty bad. It's pretty darn bad. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, and if you want to play an amazing game, like if you want to play the creme de la creme, you probably want to play Tunic, which we're gonna play now. So yeah.